Welcome to Food for Thought, the place to explore, celebrate, and manifest a life motivated and defined by unconditional compassion and optimal wellness. My name is Patrick-Goudreau. You can find me at joyfulvegan.com and on social media, and Food for Thought can be found wherever podcasts are found. And thank you for subscribing to it. Thank you for sharing it with others. And of course, thank you for leaving ratings and reviews, and thank you for supporting it. Food for Thought is a 100% listener-supported podcast. So you can become a supporter today by going to patreon.com/ColleenPatrick-Goudreau. Thank you so much in advance. Today's episode is a 14-year love letter episode. I'm not doing love letters from 14 years. This is our 14th year love letter episode. A couple quick announcements before we get started. Make sure you check out joyfulvegan.com for the classes for 2021. We've got 7 up for January. These are the online cooking classes in real time, super fun. Lots of fantastic recipes, if I do say so myself, that you can enjoy from the comfort of your own home. Participating in these cooking classes, as you will hear, has been a really powerful and helpful and healing and fun experience for me and for those who join us. So go to joyfulvegan.com to check them out. We will be adding many more classes for 2021, and I take your suggestions very seriously. So please keep your suggestions coming. Number 2, we have gift certificates for these live classes as well as for the on-demand classes. Once the cooking classes are over and the live aspect is over, obviously we have to end at some point, the classes then get converted to on-demand classes. So you can watch the video from any class that we have taught. And of course, you get the recipes and whatever resources and even the chat feed from the live class. So again, joyfulvegan.com. And as we are all hopeful about traveling again next year, please go to cpgtrips.com. Check out our note about how to travel safely. And obviously we don't know what next year holds. We don't know what September holds, 2021, but we're hopeful and we are looking forward to our trips to France and to Italy. So go to cpgtrips.com to check them out. Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing fabulously well. Welcome to the end of 2020 and to the end of the 14th year of the Food for Thought podcast. Do you think it's time for a new theme song? I just don't have the bandwidth to get it done. But that was created by my husband and his band at the time, now 14 years ago. And it still makes me all goosebumpy when I hear it because it just reminds me of when those guys first created that. So I don't know. Do you think we need a new theme song? I think at one point I had put the Animology podcast theme song at the beginning of Food for Thought, and people wrote to me saying, "What did you do? Why did you do that?" So I don't know, maybe hands off and I'll just leave it as it is and not do anything. But anyway, this is the end of the year. It's the end of the 14th year of the Food for Thought podcast. Of the podcast episodes I produced in 2019 and 2020, I thought you'd be interested to know the ones that have been the most popular. The 5 most popular episodes of all the ones I did in 2019 and 2020 are, ready? Drum roll. I don't have a drum roll. I'm not gonna do that. Ready? Number 1, I'm not evil and neither are you. Tribalism, ideology, and a call for compassion. Number 2, they were never really vegan in the first place. The episode I just did recently on ex-vegans and ex-vegan celebrities, but even if you're not into ex-vegan celebrities or vegan celebrities or celebrities, which I'm not, it's still something I think you'd be interested in hearing. And many of you have, and it's one of the most listened to. Coping with anger in turbulent times, 50 ways to create a meaningful life. That's not all one episode. Those are 2 different episodes. And number 5, how to create an intentional daily routine. So doing more and more of those episodes on just living life compassionately and healthfully and joyfully. So I'll be doing lots more of those come 2021. So check those episodes out if you haven't already. And of course, there's many others to listen to. If you've been listening for a while, even if you haven't been listening for 14 years, you might remember that I used to end each year with love, letter episodes. And I haven't done an episode in a couple years, but I thought now would be a good time to do so as we look back on 2020 and focus on what is good in this world. When I first started getting mail from podcast listeners, from you, it was mostly email, as well as handwritten letters. I did get handwritten letters, which were absolutely lovely, and cards. But social media was in its infancy. And now I still get emails, but they're supplemented by all the beautiful comments I receive from listeners and followers on my social media channels and private messages. And it makes it a little harder to transfer all of them over to a Google Doc. When it's email, it's a little easier. But I keep all of your beautiful sentiments in a Google Doc, and when I'm able, I transfer them over from private messages on Instagram and Facebook and Patreon. But it just makes it a little harder to do so because everything's in so many different places, but I do my best. And so I just want you to know that I read every single one of the letters and comments you send to me, and I appreciate all of your support and love, all of it, all the time. The love letters I'm sharing with you today are mostly from email, but they're also from supporters by private message in the Patreon platform, as well as private messages on social media. So thank you for all of this love and for giving me a reason to continue doing this. And I read these messages not to pat myself on the back. This is not to brag and share how people have been moved by my work for its own sake. I do it because I want to demonstrate why there's reason to hope, why I have hope, why I believe there are so many good people in this world trying to do the right thing, who are looking for support and inspiration and answers. I'm very grateful to be a stop along the way for them on their journey, which is all any of us are to each other. Please do not underestimate the influence you have on those around you. Whether you think they're watching or not, trust me, they're watching. And they're taking cues from what you say, and what you do, and what you teach, both consciously and unconsciously. It's one of the reasons I am never fond of when people say, that certain celebrities or people who are high profile need to be mindful of their influence on young people because they have, influence and they have power. We all do. We're all watching each other all the time. So I'm grateful to be a conduit in a more public way, but we're all conduits. We're all inspiration. And we're all also, we could also be the opposite to each other. We could also be, poor influences as well as positive ones. So I'm looking forward to sharing these letters with you. I think the first couple you would have heard from some recent podcast episodes, but I thought they deserved to be mentioned again nonetheless. But the rest, I don't think you've heard at all. I don't think I included them in any episode. The first one is from Yuki from Osaka, Japan, and she became a Patreon supporter recently. And I just thought her story was just so interesting and beautiful to me, and I wanted to share it. She wrote, I came across your podcast about 2 months ago, and I started listening from the 2006 old episodes, and now I'm around the end of 2009. I wonder where you are now, Yuki. My vegan journey started in 2011, and I've been on and off, but I'm feeling a lot of guilt for obvious wrongdoing to the animal environment and to my health, because that was always in the back of my head. What I always knew was that I wanted to actualize my values in my day-to-day life. The compassion and hope in your voice resonated with me more than any other movies, readings, videos, talks, and moreover, my then 17-year-old daughter who wanted to walk this walk 2 years ago. A week ago, a sudden revelation came over me one morning when I was offered a chocolate macaron at work. I knew I wouldn't eat it, and I knew in my heart I would never go back. My life of always having to choose between two is a thing of the past. Those unhealthy cookies and chips that are ubiquitous seemed innocuous before because they're not as obvious as fried chicken. Now I can easily say no without effort because they often contain eggs and flavors of animal flesh. I feel so liberated and clean. I'm Japanese, and I have seen the huge change in diet in this country in my life of 52 years. As the movement of animal exploitation-free lifestyle has become more and more prevalent in the U.S., I can see with my own eyes that cow and pig flesh is rushing into this country with tsunami force. And she goes on to talk about the increase in the number of all-you-can-eat Korean barbecue, lots of meat in those restaurants, cheap U.S. and Australian beef, American and Canadian pork. The U.S. government must be working very hard to ditch the export duty of animal products, foreseeing the market decline in its own country. Gosh, I wish we were declining that much. We are on the decline, but I don't know if it's that much. But we are exporting to a lot of other countries as well. Luckily, we have a great variety of seasonal fresh produce available all year around in Japan. So much more to say, but I will end this message with sincere gratitude for your work. I hope we can meet in person one day. And I may have said in the episode where I read your letter, Yuki, that Japan is on our list for CPG as a CPG trip. And it's been on my list for years, for just years in general. And so I'm really hoping we can put together a CPG trip to Japan. So thank you so much for your support and for your letter. From Birgit in Germany, it was high time. I support you and your wonderful podcast. I really love listening to it. It keeps me on track, especially in these times. And she wishes both me and Charlie and Michiko well, as do her cats Gunther and Carlos and Willie. Thank you, Birgit. From Leah. Leah wrote, Dear Colleen, we're currently living in Malaysia, so it's already Thanksgiving here. We've been talking about how we are thankful. We're talking about what we are thankful for this morning. And I just wanted you to know that you are definitely on that list for me. Besides the fact that we're enjoying a few of your recipes today, we have German apple cake in the oven right now and cranberry relish bubbling away on the stove. You've been such a source of support and encouragement for me on this journey. I just listened to your new podcast about compassion yesterday, and it was a light bulb moment for me. I've been struggling lately with how to interact with friends and family who I feel... Charlie's breaking into the room. Charlie's breaking into the room. Do you need help, Charlie? Oh, he did it. So sorry. Excuse me, Leah. Okay. Hi. This is a light bulb moment I'm reading about right now, Charlie. I've been struggling lately with how to interact with friends and family who I feel are doing things that are unsafe or unkind or selfish during our current multitude of challenges. I don't like to pretend it doesn't bother me, but shutting them out didn't feel quite right, and I'm tired of the conflict. Oh my gosh, your suggestion of being an ambassador of compassion was just what I needed to hear. Thank you. Thank you for the work you do, the compassion you add to the world, and of course for your delicious recipes. Thank you so much, Leah. I didn't know I was going to get emotional reading that. It just means everything to know that just something I said, and again, this is what I mean when I say we all influence each other. It could be something you just say to a neighbor or a friend or a family member or a coworker or someone on the street or a clerk at the store or a delivery person, anything. We underestimate the power we have to influence each other for good. If we all just sit around agreeing that the world is a horrible place and there's nothing good in it and there's no hope and it's just going to hell in a handbasket, then everybody else is going to stand around nodding in agreement. But if we just shift a little bit, and I don't mean in a way that's not authentic or true, because I think it is true that there's reason to be hopeful, but just to know that something I said just turned something in Leah's head is everything. It's just everything. And I'm so grateful. And I wouldn't have known that if you didn't share that with me, Leah. So thank you. And that's another thing that we can do more with each other is tell each other how we impact each other. Tell each other that we appreciate each other. Tell a friend what you love about them. Tell your partner what you love about them. Tell yourself what is really good about you. We need to do that more. We need to do that more all the time. From Carrie, hi Colleen, I've been vegan for over 2 years now thanks to your 30-day vegan challenge. I've recommended it to dozens of friends who've also since gone vegan too. You are a wonderful, amazing person, and the planet is so lucky to have you. I know I'm lucky to have found you. You literally changed my life for the better. I wanted to share with you. I'm a writer and blogger, and I recently wrote an article. So Carrie keeps a blog and a website, and I really encourage you to check it out. It's called darknessandlight.org, and she wrote an article called Being Vegan with Bipolar Disorder. So if it's something that might help you or help you help someone else, I really recommend it. And so she continues, I wrote an article promoting you because you've made such a difference in my life. I hope to share your message with as many people as possible. Thank you again, Colleen. You've made me a better person. again, thank you, Carrie. It's just wonderful. From Lyndall. Lyndall, am I saying your name correctly? My 6-year-old unexpectedly told me today that he wants to become vegan like me. He connected the cheese he was eating to cows and their calves and how we're taking the milk from them. I have always used a very soft approach with him as it's difficult to discuss suffering with a very young child. My approach has always been to show him that animals are just like us, that they feel emotions, love their children, and deserve happiness. I'm overjoyed and overwhelmed, and I want to thank you for helping me continue with my vegan journey. I have had ups and downs over the years and a very unsupportive family. Your message of kindness has helped me realize there are other people going through what I'm going through. Now there will be another generation to spread the kindness, the message of kindness and compassion. Thank you so much for all you do for the animals. From Tonda, who wrote, "You are amazing. Colleen's advocacy is incredible. It's because of her podcast that I became vegan last July. Over a weekend, I listened to her podcast and then watched Cowspiracy and What the Health. After that, there was no turning back. How did it take me so long to realize the truth? Huge thanks to you all for opening my eyes to what now seems so obvious, the cruelty and harm we're causing by eating animal flesh and secretions." Thank you for all you do. Tonda is reminding me of the stage 1 of the stages that I created and have illustrated in The Joyful Vegan, my book. And that's stage 1, the voracious consumption of information. So you are a testament to that stage, because that's something we all often do, is we just consume when we're first awakened to this. So good on you. Well done. And thank you, Tonda, for your lovely message. From Brianna, "Dear Colleen, I don't know if you read replies, but in case you do," I think she was replying to probably a newsletter, I think. "I wanted to let you know that I really loved this episode of your podcast." I think the episode Brianna is talking about, and I'm going to read a couple more that are related to this episode. Yeah, I think it's actually coming up right now. I mentioned that the tribalism episode was one of the most popular ones from 2019 and 2020. And I'll read a few. It definitely struck a chord with people, and I really encourage you to hear what the letters say, because you have a huge spectrum of people who are on all points of a spectrum of many spectrums, and especially now. And I hate saying that, because there's always been times when we've had polarization and political polarization and cultural polarization, and this is what we're living in right now, and I feel it for sure. And I feel it in the vegan community, and I feel it in the animal protection community, and I feel the judgment, and I feel the tribalism, and it makes me very unhappy and very uncomfortable. And so there's many lenses through which to view tribalism, and in that episode you can certainly look at it through all of the many different lenses, whether we're talking about, politics or social justice or culture or name it. And I think you'll probably find something to identify with, religion, whatever it is. So Brianna wrote to me saying, "I wanted to let you know that I really loved this episode of your podcast." This was the one called "I'm Not Evil and Neither Are You," but I also expound upon it more in The Joyful Vegan. "I listened to it this morning with my husband. He's super left wing. My family is super right wing, and I'm caught in the middle. Hearing your thoughts on compassion for people you don't agree with led to a really meaningful conversation between us. And so many of the things you said mirrored the things I've been thinking and trying to explain, but not as eloquently or as effectively as you do." Thank you. So thank you for that. I did your 30-day vegan challenge after seeing What the Health, and I've got to say you do a wonderful job introducing people to concepts like what to do with tofu and what to do with your veggies after you've bought them. For whatever reason, seeing you slice up a cauliflower made it seem a lot less daunting. And I really value the advice you give on real life scenarios, like ordering in restaurants, responding to questions and challenges from your loved ones. The work you're doing is wonderful and appreciated. Thank you, Brianna, so much. Thank you so much. This was from Brian, who also responded to the tribalism episode. This would have been last year, the episode 2019. I just listened to your podcast on about tribalism and identity politics. Absolutely brilliant, insightful, and spot on. I've had personal and sadly unfortunate experiences with vegans who demand purity across a spectrum of social issues. I'm one of those vegans who hold some liberal views on some issues, while conservative on others. As a result, I've been the target of abuse by fellow vegans and told I'm not welcome in vegan circles. Anyway, thank you for your voice and your work. You're welcome, Brian. I have since met Brian and we have discussed this at length. And it is something that I have seen again and again and again and saw again recently this year and have been a victim of it myself. Because a post I put out about compassion, and I mentioned this in the tribalism episode, and this is again. So in the tribalism episode, I talked about this. This happened again. And a post I put out about compassion turned very quickly into a series of responses to me that ended very quickly, or escalated, I should say very quickly, because it ended by me taking down the post. It escalated very quickly to calling me a white supremacist because of the way people were reading my message about compassion. And so, yeah, it happens in every circle and it happens all the time. But the messages I get the most criticism about and the most insults and it's unbelievable from vegans are the ones where I talk about compassion. I'll just move on. From Larlin. Am I pronouncing that correctly, Larlin? Good morning, Colleen. Not sure if you'll get this email reply. So again, I think it was in response to the email that I had sent about the episode, Tribalism. But I wanted to say thank you. I haven't even listened to the podcast yet. Just read your overview, and this message is everything. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I've been vegetarian most of my adult life and only made the committed switch to veganism this year. As a Christian conservative, I often feel the unspoken and uncomfortable assumption that all vegans hold leftist ideology, often to the extreme. This simply isn't so. In fact, it's my Christian beliefs that heavily influenced my decision to go vegan. So again, thank you. We desperately need more tolerance and messages of inclusion, such as this week's podcast. Keep up the amazing work. In peace, Larlin. Thank you very much. I agree. From Lisa. Dear Colleen, I discovered your Food for Thought podcast this fall and a couple months ago became a supporter at the $10 a month level. Thank you so much, Lisa. Your podcast has been so valuable to me since I discovered it. I became vegan last spring following my then 13-year-old daughter's lead. I'd been vegetarian off and on for many years, but it took my daughter sharing her research with me on specifically how the animals suffer to jolt me into realizing that I could no longer consume animal products at all. Well done, your daughter, and well done you for listening, Lisa, because many teenagers and children come home with information their parents don't listen to, so well done you. Your podcast has become one of my primary sources of information about the various industries that use and exploit animals for their body parts, and it's been wonderful too in helping me find ways to share what I'm learning with others. I'm so inspired by your hopeful and proactive approach to what otherwise feels like a problem too overwhelming to even begin to tackle. Many, many thanks for all you do. I'll continue to look forward to listening to and reading all that you have to contribute to this urgent conversation, with much appreciation. Lisa. Thank you, Lisa. From Kyra. I want to say Kyra or Kira. Kira, forgive me. Kyra. Maybe Kira. Thank you was the subject. Colleen, I just wanted to say thank you so much. I'm 21 years old and decided to go vegetarian at the beginning of the year. And then I watched the documentary Cowspiracy and decided to immediately go vegan. I wanted some resources, so I looked up Cowspiracy's website, which had a video of you and a link to the 30-day vegan challenge. I just finished this challenge and was actually sad when I finished it. I loved the daily encouraging emails, which is why now I have started listening to your Food for Thought podcast at least once a day. I've already learned so much from you in the past month, and I feel so much better physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually from this change. I've been wanting to go vegetarian for a couple years now, but felt scared to break my eating habits, scared to step out of my comfort zone, and you made the transition a piece of cake. I also appreciate your mindset that being angry isn't going to change anything, that being compassionate, humble, speaking your truth, and changing your daily habits is the way to make change. Thank you so much for everything. You are very wise for 21, Kira. I'm very impressed, and I really appreciate your feedback and thoughts, because I think that's absolutely true. And I really appreciate your honesty and vulnerability. It is true that I think fear plays such a huge role in stopping us from making the changes we know are beneficial to ourselves and to others. So thank you for articulating that. From Tanya, just a note about how inspirational you are. My name is Tanya, and I'm a proud vegan. I stopped eating animals and their secretions on September 28th, a little over a month ago. So this would have been, recent. I have tried this before and it only lasted a couple of months. I started this new journey by watching a documentary on Netflix, which quickly led to another documentary, then two more. Again, she's in the voracious consumption of information. One of them being Earthlings, which you have talked about on your podcast. That one sealed the deal for me. And I never looked back. I was looking for more information and began looking into books and podcasts on the topic of being vegan. And I found yours highly recommended on on a blogger's list. Thank you, blogger, whoever you are. I began listening from the beginning, and I have been meticulously listening to every episode in order for the last month. I've learned so much from you. One of my favorite things you've taught me is that I should speak my truth. At first, I was hesitant to slap a label on my newfound eating and lifestyle habits of no longer eating animals and their secretions, but I'm proud to say that I just had my first conversation with someone who most certainly likes to eat animals, and I spoke my truth and felt confident doing so. That's so lovely. It was nice to be able to share my thoughts without feeling judgmental and only representing facts that I've learned from your podcast. I am also comfortable telling others about my diet changes when planning something social, as you so often encourage your listeners to do. I'm planning a dinner out with a friend who I haven't seen in a while. This must have been last year because we're not having dinners out with friends. I think this was maybe last year. Who I haven't seen in a while, was confident in letting her know my new dietary habits of only eating plants and asking if we could choose a restaurant that was vegan friendly. Good for you. Well done. I also just spent a weekend with friends and informed them of all these changes so that we could make dinners that would accommodate. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I feel great having the willpower to do what I know was right from the beginning. I feel so inspired every day while listening to your podcast, and it encourages me to keep on this path, and I know I will not falter. Thank you. Well, Tanya, whether you falter or not, thank you, and you're welcome. And keep listening and stay in touch. From Rachel, hi there. I just stumbled across your page and I love it. I've been vegan for a long time, but I still get nervous and sweaty palmed when non-vegans press me about my life choices. You seem to have a way of explaining things beautifully, simply, and clearly, and I really appreciated your matter-of-fact approach. You are a real inspiration, and I'm grateful for having found your page. Please keep up the amazing work. From a new fan, Rachel. Thank you, Rachel. From Hillary, dear Colleen, thank you so much for your work. I share your podcast with my work colleagues and my family and others I talk to randomly, and I will be talking to my husband about fitting in, becoming a supporter of yours in the new year. As someone who also raises support for our work as Christians, I know how important even small donations are. That is the truth. Thank you, Hillary. I have a question. This is a question. I just want to put it out there because this is the kind of thing I hear from people. You know, this is why I share these letters with you, because I think you can identify as well. Might not be at a church or might not be at a religious institution, but I think we can all identify with this. So Hillary goes on. And she's tasking me to actually talk about this, and I wonder if I haven't yet. But she said, and I think it's something I can address. I have a question I hope you'll address in your new book or in a podcast. Let's see. And it is a variation of what to do when two of your values clash. Well, I do talk about this in The Joyful Vegan when I talk about different identities clashing. So I'm just thinking out loud as I'm reading this. For instance, as someone in Christian ministry, I sometimes find myself at someone's home, and unbeknownst to me, they bring out a meal. Usually this happens with people from another culture, and in their culture, they highly value hospitality. So not eating what is set before me would be rude. Of course, I want to show my respect and honor them. In the past, I've eaten the rice, for instance, but picked out the meat, and my husband ate it while they were out of the room. In the future, perhaps I could say I'm fasting from eating meat and explain explain why without being offensive. However, if they bring something out where animal products are fully incorporated in it, like a stew or a milk-based product, picking out the animal products would be impossible. What would you do? I hope you might address this dilemma of conflicting values at some point. Thank you. When I start my contribution, I'll write more fully just how much your podcast has meant to me. Suffice to say, you've really deepened my reasons for being vegan to see how much of a spiritual dimension compassion is as part of my reasons. Thank you, and may God bless you and the work you're doing. Thank you, Hillary. And I do feel like I've covered this in different episodes, but I am putting this in my list of episodes to just very explicitly focus on and prioritize. So I will come back to that, I promise, Hillary, and thank you for your support and thank you for your letter. I was also, this is from, there's no name here, so I don't think they sent it anonymously. I just don't think I was able to note down the name. I was just listening to your talk. I think there was something before this. And then I was just listening to your talk about how to articulate why we are vegan and how that can be difficult. I've struggled with this as a 25-year-old who is just at my 1-year vegan anniversary. And over the last year, I've had to justify my decision to a lot of people. Coincidentally, last week I got a vegan cookie from a cafe, and the back of the package answers the simple question of why vegan in a way that really personally resonated with me and was so short and to the point that I saved a picture of it. Oh gosh, I don't have the picture. I have to go back and see if I can find the picture because now I want to share that. So she continues, just wanted to share that with you. I don't know why I think it's a she. I think it's a she. Thank you for all you do. I have one of your cookbooks that I got as soon as I became vegan. And thanks to that, I made my very first vegan-only Thanksgiving last year successfully. And no doubt it will be even better this year as I'll have had a year of vegan cooking under my belt. I want to know how it went this year. And I want to see that vegan cookie packaging. I have to go find it. Thank you so much. From, is it Johannes in Sweden? You just made this already beautiful vegan world a better place, I think was the subject. Dear Colleen, my vegan life is pretty darn sweet, but you made my day, week, month. I can continue with your episode, Masculinity and Meat, as you were addressing so many important topics in one single talk. And your thoughts were so, at least in my book, so spot on and important for everyone to hear. I think health is extremely important, but what has been bothering me is distorted norms and views about what health is, body shaming, gender norms. No one is free from these things, not even us vegans. So when you lifted this, I got so energized. Thank you, and thank you again for this. This time you didn't just make the world better, you made the vegan world better as well. My best regards and best wishes. Oh goodness, Johanna said something to me in Swedish. I have to go translate it. Okay, can I go translate it? I'm never going to be able to say it in Swedish, but let me see what the translation is. Let's see. I should have looked before I was recording. It is warm regards. Varma Halsing. Let's see. Halsningar. Varma Halsningar. Is that correct? I hope that's correct. Anyway, thank you. Thanks, Johannes. Thank you so much. From Kirsten, I am a huge fan of Colleen's. I will not get into a love letter because I am at work in fear I will burst into tears. Well, too late. You're officially a love letter now on the love letter episode, Kirsten. Long story short, she changed my life. After listening to the episode on Thailand, I was horrified to find out the coconut water I was drinking was causing suffering to so many monkeys. To be clear, I said that not all coconut water or coconut milk is causing harm to monkeys or little primates, but it could be, and so it's good to just check. So she did check, Kirsten did, and said, I've contacted the Harmless Coconut Water Company, and they have assured me that they do not support farmers who use monkeys for harvesting. Well, that's good, because if their name is Harmless Coconut Water, you would think. I remember Colleen asking for information, so here I am. Thank you very much, Kirsten. I've included my email correspondence with them below. Thank you for the work you do. You are making this world a better place for the animals, for me, and for all others who hear your messages of love and compassion. With much love, Kirsten. Thank you so much, Kirsten. From Eleanor, dear Colleen, what an amazing thing it is to look back on the last year. I turned vegan again in July, but by the time I signed up for your 30-day vegan challenge, your podcasts were all I listened to at night as I quietly breastfed my baby and stroked my child's hair. Your calm eloquence helped me process a lot of anger that I had discovered in my journey to veganism, and your insight and compassion helped me to communicate with family and friends in a way that has inspired them to do their own research and reevaluate their own diets, so that now not only are my husband and daughters vegan, but so are my parents and two of my friends. Oh my goodness. Long may your compassion continue. With love and kindness, Eleanor. Whew, I forget how emotional this it is to read just one love letter after another. This happened to me before. From Beverly, hello, Colleen. Thank you for all your wonderful information you send to me. I really love reading all you send and would one day love to meet you in person. But because I reside in South Australia, it does make it difficult. I was diagnosed with breast cancer last September, and now undergoing chemotherapy, which will finish in January. I'm so sorry, Beverly. I love your work, Colleen, and what you are doing for the animals. I'm vegan and do not eat them, but love them. My wish is for everyone to go vegan, and I know one day it will happen. None of my family are vegan, and it does upset me when I see them consuming animals and their secretions, but they do support me. She goes on to talk about the live export trade, which of course is horrible, and just sharing how upsetting it is. Your Compassion in Action conference would be and will be amazing, but I'm sorry I can't attend. Don't forget, Beverly, we did do we called it the Joyful Vegan Conference last year, and we did do it virtually. We did it virtually before anything was virtual, because that's what we do. We like being ahead of the curve. Come on, I was doing podcasts before anybody else do. Not everybody, but a lot. But truly, we will, we are looking at other events to do online, but of course, don't forget, we've got the weekly cooking classes, and, having done them almost weekly since April now, I do sit down and assess what's going well, what can change, what can be improved. And we've got some things that maybe those who come every week wouldn't notice, but I will notice. And the point is that it is a place to connect, and a place to gather, and a place to learn, and a place to inspire. And if you are looking to connect with like-minded people, there is no better place. All of you are just incredible people, and you just find really high caliber people. And that's where you can find them, is in the classes, because we have lots of people who come again and again and again, week after week. So you will meet people, and you will find community. So thank you so much for sending that. From PJ, I found your podcast Food for Thought when browsing in iTunes podcast app. I immediately felt a connection and absolutely loved the first one I listened to, the very first one I listened to. I knew I had to become a supporter so that you can continue this important work. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, PJ. I've gone back to the earliest episodes that are still available in iTunes. She says 2007, but I'm certain that 2006 episodes are also available. And I've been listening to them in chronological order. Your voice has such a soothing, calming quality that I use your podcast to fall asleep to every night. That usually means I have to play them again the next day because I fall asleep so quickly that I don't remember what you said. Perhaps my subconscious mind absorbs it. I listen to you now when hiking the mountains with my dogs and when working in my garden. I really like that you say perfection is not the goal of being vegan. Kindness, compassion, and not adding to the violence in this world is the goal. I just signed up for the Compassion in Action conference in August, so this would have been last year, and can't wait to meet you and Charlie and me to go. Keep doing what you do. Sincerely, PJ. From Ines, hello, Colleen. I'm a passionate pre-kindergarten teacher with a less than optimal salary, but who cares? With the exception of the summer months during which I do not get paid, I am proud to donate to your cause. Thank you, Ines. If this helps you a bit to keep doing what you do because you do it beautifully, I am content. I might withdraw my donations for the summer months, July and August, when they get here, only for financial reasons, but I shall pick up in September where I left off, and that's it. A hug and take care, respectfully, Ines. I want to tell you all that, the supporters come and go, and I don't go and check who has written a letter when they became a supporter and who's not a supporter anymore. I don't do that. I know that the moment that someone goes over to Patreon to become a supporter is because they're so filled with love and generosity that that's what they're compelled to do. And whatever happens from there, I don't know. I know that there's ups and downs for people, and I know that there are ebbs and flows. I just want you to know that when you do go to Patreon and support this, it's because of that. And I know that. I know it's because you want this work to continue, and I'm so grateful to you. And that's why I always say that, remember, when you are supporting this work, you're doing it for everybody. It's not just for you. So even though you feel the generosity of spirit and the generosity of your money to give, and that certainly does benefit you, it is a benefit to everybody, because people do have to stop supporting, and they do stop supporting, or their credit cards become declined or whatever. I mean, there's so many reasons why the Patreon support goes up and down, but I just want you to know that I know that, and I am so grateful, and I still appreciate it very much, because I couldn't do this work without you. I mean, I genuinely couldn't, I wouldn't. I have nothing else but this podcast and the classes. Like, they've just been such a gift to me. So I just want you to know that, and I just appreciate you very, very much. Okay, gratitude rant over. From Babe. Thank you, Colleen. Your daily emails through my 30-day vegan challenge were so welcomed, motivating, enjoyable, and informative. You gave me the knowledge that I needed to make the transition to go vegan. It has only been about 3 months now that I've been vegan. However, I plan to stick with it. This is a lifestyle change that I really should have made years ago. I feel better about not contributing to the inhumane treatment of animals, the destruction of our environment, and I know that being vegan is better for my health and spirit. Thanks again. Cheers. From Alyssa. Thank you for all of your helpful, wise, and inspiring content over the years. When I was a lone vegan before meeting my husband, navigating my way through family dinners and holidays was a scary place. And as I listened to your podcast, you gave me many tools and informative facts that have been a source of hope for brighter lines of communication with my family in regards to this matter. Thank you, Alyssa. From Amanda, I'm fairly new to the podcast world and have recently stumbled upon yours. As a new vegan, I'm finding that you have so many tips on all aspects of veganism, and will continue to be an avid listener, and hopefully, when my pocketbook allows, supporter. I hope that as I continue to listen to your podcast and discover myself more on this journey, that I will be able to find grounding for my passion in a way that has the potential to make change in the world, as opposed to scare people off and offend them with my enthusiasm. Thank you for all you do in the community and the change you are making. Thank you, Amanda, for taking the time to write. And remember, I say this in the Joyful Vegan. It's one of the chapters when I talk about, I think it's the chapter called Vegangelism. And it's where I talk about the line between enthusiasm and and having enthusiasm and passion, and stepping over into, well, I actually talked about it on the podcast as well, obviously. I have no problem with the word evangelism, because I think that has to do with passion and enthusiasm, but it's when we get into proselytizing, because proselytizing means that we have the expectation that the person we're sharing our enthusiasm with will change. That, for me, is the line right there. The difference between enthusiasm and proselytizing is our expectation. Do not stop being passionate about this work. Do not stop being passionate about compassion. Do not stop being passionate and enthusiastic about speaking on behalf of the animals. But where we get into trouble is where we expect that what happens from our words, that's when we get attached to that someone will make a change based on what we say, based on our enthusiasm. That's the difference. But it sounds like you know that already, and I think that's fantastic. So please don't stop being enthusiastic. But yes, we do want to find the line between enthusiasm and proselytizing. From Grace. Hello, my name is Grace, and I was just researching information on living vegan when I came across your podcast. I think the talks and topics you have there are really awesome and informative, and will continue following everything new from your channel. That's the same voracious consumption that I'm very grateful for, because we all do this, right? Once you find someone you love, or a book you love, or an author you love, or a filmmaker, or a podcaster, or what have you, you want to just find everything they do and everything they create and everything they make. And I totally get that. And I am really honored and grateful that I'm that for you. From Benjamin, hi Colleen, I started listening to your podcast about 3 weeks ago on my bike ride to work in Paris. It's about a 40-minute commute, and I listen to your podcast in the morning and in the evening while biking. This is pretty awesome. Thanks for your work. It's very supporting. I'm from Germany, eating mostly vegetarian since about 10 years old and almost vegan for about a year. I went through all the stages, like I eat wild animals because they had a natural life and so on. Thanks to your podcast and one phrase in it along the lines of, I don't want animals to suffer for my pleasure. Oh, and maybe another one. Animals would prefer to stay alive. I decided to keep up with the vegan lifestyle, despite the fact that in France, it's really not it's not easy to live a vegan life. Anyway, thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, Benjamin. And again, that just goes to show that we just never know that one thing we say could click with someone. Do I hope that they will? Of course. Do I expect that they will change? No. But am I grateful? Absolutely. So I'm just really grateful that those things I said resonated with you. From Carol in Birmingham, in the UK. Can I just say how amazed I am at your organizing such wonderful, compassionate trips? Oh, this is Carol who's very excited about the trips. It's uplifting to say the least that there is something for animal lovers. I'm transitioning slowly to becoming vegan, but still have a way to go. I've ditched meat for almost a year, stopped eating eggs and cow's milk, and navigating through countless mistakes I make by learning what has dairy content and what doesn't, and still partly consuming a lot of wrong things. My fridge and cupboards are also slowly being replaced by alternative options. Then she goes on to ask if the trips are available for the likes of me who are not vegan yet. And of course, my answer is absolutely yes. I don't know a better group of people that you would want to be around than those who will just demonstrate what it looks like to be joyful vegans. And I'll just say that non-vegans are always welcome on the trips. They're all vegan, the trips. You're not going to be eating any animal products, but non-vegans are welcome. Of course they are, because you will be eating with us the entire time and having a wonderful time. And, to Benjamin's point, France is doing a lot more than it ever has. Absolutely. That's why we're actually running these trips to France. I mean, obviously, in the case of the trips we've done to Alsace in France, we start in Paris, and Paris has become such a vegan Mecca. But even in the Dordogne, we're starting in Bordeaux and in that area, and we're just going to take care of you so that you can still enjoy these beautiful countries and these beautiful places in these countries and still enjoy and still obviously eat. And so if you're interested in joining, we've got the trip to the Dordogne, which I'm super excited about. We had to obviously postpone it because of COVID, but it will be happening in 2021. I'm very confident. And then we're going to be hosting Tuscany after that. So, and then the meeting that I have with my partners, Bridie and Seb, is what other trips that we're looking to do in 2022. And we've got lots of ideas. So the answer is yes. It's just an inquiry at this stage, as I'm unable to yet join these trips as I'm caring for my mother and live with her as she has early dementia. So it's difficult to get time for my plans. I'm so sorry. However, I'm so happy to know there are amazing, spectacular trips such as this with vegans. I could learn so much from them, and I'm already in awe of your compassion and commitment to saving animals. Thank you so much, Carol. I hope you can join us one day. From Alice, hello, Colleen. I just started listening to your wonderful animology podcast and have signed up as a patron. Thank you, Alice. As an English literature graduate currently studying for an MSc in animal welfare science, ethics, and law, it weds my two passions: animals and words. Needless to say, I'm addicted already. I'm actually hoping to write my dissertation on a related topic, perhaps something along the lines of how animal welfare and behavior, sciences fear of anthropomorphism, the use of distancing language and jargon to ensure scientific validity. Please write that. Please study that, Alice. I have notes about that in my own documents because I do want to write a book called Animology, and that's one of the things I want to write about. So please do that so I can just cite your work. So she goes on, how that is actually preventing knowledge filtering out to a broader readership and being put to real use. Maybe, she said. I'm studying part-time alongside my day job as a publishing editor, so I have time to decide. Anyway, I would love to have the transcripts. Oh, as a supporter, I'm going to make sure, Alice, just make sure we got you the transcripts. I'm reading this now. I'm only discovering it now. I want to quote you in some of my essays, and having the transcripts will make that a lot easier. Are you able to send these? Yes, I am. Thanks so much for your brilliant podcast and valuable work for animals. You're amazing. No, you are, Alice. So go do the research and then let me learn from you. From Lindsay, I started listening to your Food for Thought podcast in January 2018 during my morning and evening commutes. As I'm writing to you in April, I can't believe it's only been a few months since you became a part of my daily life. With my veganversary coming up in May, 3 years vegan, I've been reflecting lately on how far I've come. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being part of my journey. I can honestly say that I have come farther in the past few months than I did in the previous couple years because I had your help. You've helped me find my voice, and the significance of that goes way beyond the scope of my 3-year vegan journey. I love my parents, and they have many strengths. However, our home was a tense one in which having a voice was not encouraged. As a child, I was taught not to disagree and not stand up for myself. As a result, I always had a lot of trouble expressing myself in my adult life. In the face of adversity, I would either submit or explode. I was always either a doormat or overreacting, crying or screaming. Accordingly, I found it very difficult to express my vegan values. I became so anxious that I would avoid interacting with people altogether. I now understand with your help that I had been stuck in the sorrow and anger phase for the past couple years, which is so fitting considering my history. I now use communication skills I learned from your podcast all the time, at work, at home, in tense situations, in calm conversations regarding veganism, animal rights, and everything else. The ability to express my feelings, opinions, and needs clearly and calmly has made me a happier person. This means so much to me from the bottom of my heart, Colleen. Thank you. I became a monthly supporter, and I tell everyone about you and your work. I love learning from you every day. When I'm all caught up with Food for Thought podcasts, I'm going to start in on your books. I look forward to attending a Compassion in Action conference. If not this year, then perhaps next. I have a long-term goal of going on a CPG trip as well. Thank you for helping me become a confident, peaceful, and joyful vegan. It has meant the world to me. Thank you so much, Lindsay. That means the world to me. I cannot. Thank you. It's really amazing to read these, and it's amazing to read them all at once. It's just what I needed. Who knew? From Jessica. As I was browsing your website, I came across your quote card. Being vegan doesn't make me better than anyone else, but it does make me better than I used to be. I went cold turkey vegetarian in 2005 at the age of 15, wanting to know everything I could get my hands on about the meat industry. Unfortunately, I neglected to inform myself about the horrific dairy industry and instead spent several years as a junk food vegetarian, eating mac and cheese enchiladas, ice cream, you name it. It's so typical, Jessica. So many people have experienced that same thing. I can remember listening to Food for Thought a few years later and feeling uncomfortable with guilt and near defensiveness when you would talk about veganism. I even, regrettably, skipped episodes that I thought might delve into dairy territory. Oh my God, I think it's amazing that you continued listening. I always felt that one day I would be vegan. Maybe I would save those episodes for when that time came. As I was looking for jobs in college, I came across a position at PETA that listed being vegan as one of the requirements. Instead of thinking about how great of an opportunity it would be to rid myself of my conditioned cheese addiction, I settled on the fact that I did not qualify. After all, I was only vegetarian. Finally, in 2017, something finally clicked and I couldn't ignore my guilt any longer. I stopped seeing animal secretions as tasty or even edible. My love for quality leather shoes disappeared and I cringed at the thought of wearing animal skins on my feet. I aligned my actions with my values. My family and friends continued to offer dairy to me, thinking I would come crawling back in no time, but there was no turning back. When asked, was it hard for you? I always say it took a while for me to flip the switch. I didn't want to be in the dark any longer. Aside from drastically improving my digestion, immunity, and overall energy, I feel proud and happy to walk in this light for the animals. The hardest part, quote unquote, is the guilt I have for not making the change sooner. Nonetheless, I am better than I used to be. I thank you, Colleen, for planting the seed of compassion many years ago. That's incredible, Jessica, that you continued listening. I mean, this is why I share this with you all, because this is what I talk about in The Joyful Vegan, is that Don't Tell Me I Don't Want to Know, that chapter about willful blindness, that the reason we all block out the truth is because we know it's true, and because we know that we would be compelled to make a change, and we're afraid of the change, and we're afraid of what it looks like, and we're afraid of letting go of what we think is so important to us right here and now. And so the courage is continuing to listen and look. The courage is continuing to do so despite knowing that you're going to hear things that might make you change. And I commend you, Jessica. And thank you for listening and being the fertile ground, if you don't mind me furthering that metaphor, in which the seeds of compassion were able to flourish. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And one more thing I wanted to say is, yes, don't forget, also in The Joyful Vegan, Jessica, if you have not picked up the book, is the chapter on guilt and remorse, because I do talk about that as well. From Maura, first, I just want to say thank you for everything you do for the animals and the planet. I'm so grateful I discovered your podcast when I first went vegan last summer. I wasn't able to change overnight, but when I finally took the plunge to really commit, your podcast was a source of encouragement and affirmation. Thank you. From Jonathan, this letter, though I have expressed my gratitude and the influence you have had in my life through various social media comments over the last few years, I feel that this formal letter is overdue. While going on a road trip in late 2016, I searched for vegetarian podcasts to listen to on the way. As a vegetarian at the time, I was lucky enough to download your episode called 10 Habits of Highly Effective Advocates. After listening and diving deep into the long history of the podcast, I realized that I would never be able to live the compassionate life I desired without veganism. I truly felt that you had brought to the surface the unconditional compassion I always knew I possessed. Prior to listening, I knew of the atrocities of the egg and dairy industry, but I refused to accept that there was any way I could avoid it. Veganism would be too difficult and impossible to start as a mere teenager. You proved me wrong. Thank you. Now, even though we have never met, you play an integral role in my life. You provide a constant support system that helps me navigate the recurring problems that we face as vegans. I'm eager to learn and expand my knowledge as I now attempt to conquer the waste epidemic. I've listened to almost every podcast episode, watched countless talks on YouTube, and try to tune into as many live streams as possible. Not only are you inspirational to me as a like-minded human being, but also as a future teacher. I hope to foster an environment full of compassion, understanding, and accurate information. Your kind and non-threatening approach helps me avoid conflict and inform without being preachy. But most of all, I've learned that veganism and zero waste aren't about being perfect. I know that veganism isn't a diet or a fad. Being vegan is a way of life, and I'm beyond proud to proclaim that it is now my life. Thank you for all you have done and will continue to do. When you say that, Jonathan, it makes it sound like there's expectations that I still have a lot of work to do. I love that you end with, I really appreciate what you have done and what you will continue to do. No pressure. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Thank you for your support. And it's always lovely to see you online. Jonathan's probably one of my top commenters, and I'm always happy to see you. Thank you so much. And speaking of people I see online all the time, as you can see, I share letters from people who listen to the podcast, from people who have heard me speak, from people who read my books. And I just feel like because I get responses from people responding to different aspects of my work, it's only fitting that I share some responses I've had to the cooking classes, because they have also been very meaningful, and I thought I would share some. Now, some of them are unsolicited. Some of them were in response to surveys that I send out. And so people have written testimonials, but I still think they're authentic nonetheless. So again, some of them are unsolicited, where they just wrote in response to the classes, and I actually don't differentiate between the two. And some were in response to, hey, let me know what you think about the classes. And so they did. And so I'm grateful for that. It's hard for me to explain how unexpected the classes were for me. And I had been saying, this is what I always say, be careful what you wish for and be careful what you say, because I feel like the universe is always listening to me. And there was a time I was starting to say out loud, I really missed doing the cooking classes, but I knew that I couldn't go back to teaching them in person, folks. It's so much work. And I think it's really essential work, because there's nothing like teaching people like these really basic fundamental skills, like how to eat and cook and do it healthfully and joyfully and obviously compassionately. So I really love doing it. And I wanted to reach people, all around the world, but it's just so much work. And I'm not allergic to work. It's just, it's a lot of work for not a lot of return. And I don't mean that only in terms of money, but it is a lot of work for not a lot of money doing the in-person classes. Now, if I had my own studio, and people were coming to me, but even that, like, I don't want to rent space, and it's just not what I want to do. It's just not where I want to spend my time. And the hardest part of the work I do, and I'm not going to lie, is the marketing. I like it the least. The cooking classes, I am not the best at marketing them. I have never figured out Google Ads. I'm terrible at tracking who does what when I do a post, because I don't do cookie. Like, I don't know how to I just don't do that. And I don't have someone who helps me with marketing. I have horrible SEO on my website. I need a new website. And I know I rebuilt the website a few years ago, but it was done so poorly that it is so frustrating for me to do any changes on the website, or even, use it for marketing purposes for my classes or for any of my work. So let's just say that that the classes have filled this need that I had, that I wanted to return to teaching. No, I didn't mean return at the expense of any of my other work, but at least incorporate it. And that it also has filled this gap, especially during COVID. But look, the world has changed. We are online more than ever before, and I think will continue to be. And I have always done things online. The podcast is online. My videos are online. My social media posts are online. My daily dose of compassion. All of that stuff is online, right? But this will continue even after 2021, when there will be a receding of this pandemic. I think they'll continue. I think there's always going to be a need for that. And there's always going to be a need to connect with people from all around the world, and do so easily and affordably. And so these classes have been just a gift for me. I have to send a shout out to Danielle Puller, who has been helping me in these classes since April. Danielle has been a friend of mine for 15 years, and she used to help me in the in-person classes. And I know those of you who come to these classes every week know Danielle, and she is just there for me every single week. She was there for me moderating the conference. The reason I even know Zoom as well as I do is because she trained me on it prior to the conference, the Joyful Vegan conference we did in February of 2020, because we took my conference online. And I'm so grateful to her. And then Tina Atwell. Tina has been a supporter. She has come to several of my Compassion in Action conferences. Tina has traveled with us to Thailand, to Rwanda. She and her husband were supposed to come to Botswana, and we will go to Botswana next year. We just couldn't do it this year. And then Tina was just asking, and she was coming to all the classes, and she asked if she could help. And she asked enough times that I finally said, okay, I do need help, and I will accept your help. And Tina has been helping me immensely. The website is such a painful thing to navigate for me to do, like adding all of the classes, adding any individual class. There's just a lot of pieces. And so in addition to me testing recipes, shopping, choosing the recipes, choosing the menu, teaching them, all of it, it's a lot of work. And then getting them up on the website, and then transferring everything from live classes to the on-demand. It's all necessary, and it's all like, I want to do it. But if I didn't have Tina's help, I'd just be in a puddle right now crying. So Tina, thank you. And I thanked you, I hope you hear how many times I thank you and how much I appreciate you, but I really am so grateful. And so folks, these classes they've just been a real lifesaver, and we have people come again and again. And I do really want to reach new people who've never found my work before, because we are talking about compassion and animal issues. And, I'm giving people the tools and resources they need to live compassionately and healthfully. That is my mission. And so I was really thrilled. I got an email not that long ago from a woman who wrote, "Hi, Colleen." Her name's, is it Lauren? Yeah, her name's Lauren. And she said, "Hi, Colleen. I was researching live cooking and baking classes I could give to my mom as a gift, and I came across your website, and I instantly fell in love with your story and recipes," which is just so lovely, because like I said, I am right now, the marketing is so limited to my audience, and that's been great. But when there's new people who find my work, it's just really gratifying, because that's what you want, right? I have all of you who listen. I have all of you who come to the classes, who come to the conferences, who come and, follow me on social media. And you are my core and you are my foundation. But of course you want it to build and grow. And so I'm thrilled whenever there's new people who come on. So if you could please, the gift that I would ask you for me is to help spread the word about these classes. Share them on social media, share them with different vegan, publications. Share them with any paper. Like, you can you can ask me for the press release. You can send them out. Papers all around the world are, I say papers, bloggers, websites are all around the world are including information about what people can do at home, especially since we're going back into a pretty serious lockdown. In the winter here, folks. So people are looking for things to do that are engaging, that are inspiring, that are entertaining. I'll tell you, I've taken a couple Zoom classes myself. I watched one. I couldn't watch it past 10 or 15 minutes. It was painful. Not all of them are good. So people are looking for quality as well. And I think my classes are pretty high quality. So if you're interested in joining, of course, I would love to have you. And if you are able to help me spread the word, I'd be very grateful. So here are some of the reasons why I wanted to include these letters, because they're also filled with love and joy and support. So Julie is another supporter who has traveled with us. She and her family came to Rwanda with us, she and her husband and her 2 grown sons. I've read her email in the past, but I just really appreciated your email, Julie, when I got this. It was so heartfelt, and this was completely unsolicited. And Julie wrote, I wanted to say I loved the soups class. I plan on making 2 of them this week. It was a really fun class and felt like a cozy, warm group rather than a bunch of strangers. I felt like I was right in your class rather than on a laptop over 5,000 miles away. Julie lives in the UK. I loved the humor, the tips for alternatives, and explanations of different ingredients. I have these recipes in my copy of the Vegan Table, but the way you teach them brings them to life and inspires me to actually make them rather than admiring the pictures. So thank you. See you next week. Julie has come to almost every one of the classes, and I'm very grateful, Julie. Thank you. And I just got this from Dory. Dory wrote this. She bought 2 gift certificates for the on-demand classes, and these are wonderful gifts. That's another thing you can do if you want to continue to support this work. Is instead of just being a Patreon, you can get the gift certificates for the classes, and that means the live cooking classes as well as the on-demand. So Dory just bought 2 for a friend, and she wrote an email saying, "This is a gift for a friend's birthday. I blah 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 blah. I'm really excited to share these with her. She has found it hard to find," she's putting in quotes, "vegan dishes to make for me, and now she will have no excuse, as she can do it on her own, or I can assist. I've invited her over to cook with me, but the excuses are many. I just smile and bite my tongue, and I've experienced this many times." And so she says, "Thank you for all you do, Colleen. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. It has been a crazy year. I lost my mom to COVID, the election, and etc. John and I are grateful to be alive and continue to spread joy. I can't tell you how much just hearing your voice on podcast means to me." So thank you, Dory. I have another one. I don't have the names here, but I'll just read them. I had been trying to make tofu with limited success, so I was excited to sign up for your tofu class. And as I hoped and expected, your clear instructions and being able to watch and ask questions in real time were exactly what I needed. I have since made 2 gorgeous blocks of tofu, and now I'm confident in making my tofu making abilities. It was also a fun way to spend an hour on a Sunday, and the experience had the feeling of hanging out in a friend's kitchen. That's so lovely. Like, it just means so much to me. And by the way, we have another live tofu class coming up in 2021, and we have another soups class coming up in 2021. Just riffing off of both those last two emails. Another one, I first learned of you when I watched Cowspiracy, then I took your 30-day vegan challenge, and I've been a supporter ever since. I've been inspired by you to remain vegan and to also start my zero waste journey. When I saw that you were going to have a class on how to make tofu and soy milk from scratch, I was incredibly excited and signed up immediately. The instructions were easy to follow. My questions were answered during the class, and it was great to be able to see both you speaking and what you were preparing. My tofu came out great, and I'll definitely sign up for another class. I highly recommend them. Thank you. Another, I've taken a few of your virtual cooking classes, and they've all been fantastic. My favorites were the tofu and seitan making classes. It's so awesome to learn to make these items myself as I'm trying to reduce the amount of trash I create. Plus, it's way more cost effective. Indeed. So today, folks, before I keep saying folks, sorry, but today, folks, before I recorded this and kicked my husband out of the house, he's outside freezing in meetings right now. He's not freezing. We're in California. It's chilly, but he's got a coat on. But I wanted to record this, and he's in meetings. So we have to navigate that these days. So before I came in here to record, I made a batch of tofu. And in making the tofu, you have to make soy milk. And in making soy milk, you have okara, which is the byproduct, which is the remnants, the soybean mash. And with that okara, I make my better than chicken seitan. So we have another live tofu class in 2021. We also have the seitan class as an on-demand class. So if you want to learn how to make that better than chicken, so I made the seitan, the better than chicken. I had that for lunch. The tofu is now sitting in the fridge. We'll have that for dinner. But I just love that I can make other things with the byproducts of something else. And it is truly what it is truly for me what zero waste is. It is valuing what we create. It is valuing what we have. It is making use of everything that is supposed to be made to be used. So I geek out on that stuff, and I love it. So if you're interested in those recipes and in the instruction, check out joyfulvegan.com. Another one, your class on homemade seitan was delightful. You provided so many useful tips, and I came away from the class feeling confident to make the recipes. I loved having the choice of cooking along or simply watching your demo. Knowing I'd have a recording of the class allowed me to enjoy your relaxed presentation and made the whole experience so much fun. Another one, you can tell the homemade classes are the most popular. While I've made seitan in the past, it was great having the opportunity to see it made in real time and have the ability to ask questions. Plus, the accompanying recipes sound fantastic and easy, so I can't wait to try them. Cooking along feels far too stressful, so I enjoyed getting to watch the process and then having the recording to follow along later. And by the way, some people do cook along with me, some people don't. You have that option. But the benefit of doing the live classes is that you're asking me questions while I'm teaching. So that's the difference between, a YouTube video where it's just static and you're not interacting with me and being able to interact with me. I have found your online cooking classes to be full of helpful tips and tricks, which help to make cooking much easier. It's also a joy to know that when I enter that Zoom room, I will be surrounded by like-minded people who want to live gently on this earth and have compassion for all. I've been following Colleen's work for many years now. I used to live in a place where I was the only vegan I knew besides my partner, and it was a real struggle. Colleen's podcast and books helped me feel supported in every way. Now, at this most unprecedented time, the start of these online cooking classes is yet another innovative, creative, and important way Colleen continues her work for the animals and her support for all of us. I really appreciated learning tips, tricks, and new recipes. Most of all, it was awesome to be able to interact and ask questions. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to benefit from more of Colleen's work. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's from her, and I say it back. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I wanted to express my sincere gratitude to you for hosting your online cooking class. My daughter Janelle and I had too much fun bustling about our kitchen, making all the delicious, colorful dishes and using as many pots and pans and bowls as possible. It was quite thrilling for me to meet you, at least virtually, as I have been a big fan ever since I went vegan a couple years ago. It was your cookbook, The Joy of Vegan Baking, that led me down the oh-so-important rabbit hole of research to becoming fully awake. I am on my second reading of The Joyful Vegan and feel like it's like having my own personal Jiminy Cricket up my sleeve. That's awesome. Whenever I feel stuck or need a fresh perspective or guidance, I can pop open the book and find the answers to my questions. Your incredibly thorough, intelligent, and thoughtful and funny writing make even the tough subjects easy to digest. Thank you so much. That is amazing. Oh, it's not finished. Thank you so much for all your inspiration through your books, your podcast, your cooking classes, and all the other work you do every day in the name of compassion and wellness. It truly, truly does make a difference, and it's so appreciated. I am going to use that quote about being Jiminy Cricket. I love that so much. Okay, another one I love, and we're almost done. I love Colleen's classes. These are really up to date. I mean, this is up to today, the emails that I got today. I love Colleen's classes. They're so much fun and interactive. Colleen's decades of vegan cooking and entertaining come through in her classes. I always learn something new. I wished I could have taken her in-person classes years ago, and lo and behold, she started teaching online classes. I also love that David is teaching cocktail recipes. And actually what's really true is that there are people who used to come to my in-person classes who are now coming to the online classes. So Gomathi is a woman, for instance, who used to come to many of my classes online. She's been coming to the online, like 15 years ago. There was someone who came on the, forgive me if I didn't remember who it was. I have to go back and look at the transcript. Someone had said, I've been following Colleen for 19 years and I used to come to her classes 19 years ago. 19 years. Like, that's some longevity. That's amazing. I really enjoy the fun of the cooking class, the great tips and alternative ingredients, method, etc. It's great to see Colleen as well as inside the bowl and what it should look like. It's a fun way to spend an hour getting great recipes in a relaxed way, much better than just following a recipe and puzzling over if you're doing it right. Everyone is so friendly too. It's like a group meeting in your own home. The vegan sausage changed my life. The sausages are so easy to prepare and delicious. I've made them twice since the class and tried different seasonings in them. Each time I can have all the flavors I want and not pay pre-made prices. Thank you, Colleen. I've enjoyed taking the live cooking classes with you over the course of this year. You have been a refreshing escape from the craziness of COVID-19 and allows me a moment to enjoy cooking with like-minded folks. See, now I'm not the only one who says folks. I have learned a lot, cooked some fantastic recipes, and had fun while doing so. I have been amazed at how well you bring flavors together in a complimentary way. I highly recommend your classes and will continue to register. So that's it, everybody. That's all I have. The end of 2020, we have survived it, those of us who have, through hardship and challenges and difficulties, but also hopefully with gifts and lessons and things we can be grateful for. It has been a very trying year for everybody, for all of us, but we have gotten through it and we will continue to get through it. Here's to another year together, and may we have many, many more. Here's to another year of the Food for Thought podcast. Come March 2021, it will be 15 years. Is that the right math? Yeah, that's the right math. As of March 2021, the Food for Thought podcast will be going on its 15th year. Thank you for all your support. Thank you for all your love. Thank you for taking the time to write to me and to support me. And most of all, thank you for being a voice for animals. Thank you for being an ambassador of compassion. I am inspired and influenced by you as well. For the animals, this is Colleen Patrick-Goudreau. Happy New Year, and thank you for listening.